Bonjour, mesdames et mademoiselles. Bienvenue de cette vidéo où nous parlerons Bretonnia. I think my French is really rusty. That was probably terrible. Anyway, hello there. My name's Dan. I like talking about Warhammer. And today we're going to be focusing on Bretonnia, doing a bit of army list building and looking at the three sub-factions and trying to construct sort of vaguely competitive lists with them. Just to remind you, the Old World is set in 2276. I had 2272 in my head, which is why I was quickly Googling it, because I just momentarily forgot. So we're in the Wars of Errantry. Okay, so this is where it's set. Just a bit of a recap, though, of the history of the lands of Bretonnia. Let's get the map up. So we've got it here. So that's Albion there. Over here is Ulthuan, where the High Elves live, and this is Bretonnia. So these mountains used to be pretty much full of dwarves. In fact, pretty much all the mountains used to be full of dwarves. Going back into ancient history, the High Elves colonized this bit of the world, so the High Elves lived there, so there's lots of High Elf ruins and stuff lying around. And then the High Elves had their civil war with Malekith, which left this patch of the world largely unscathed. And then came the Wars of the Beards, the War of Beards, whatever it's called, where the High Elves and the Dwarves went to war, and essentially the land that we now know as Bretonnia was the principal war zone for that great clash. The humans here were kind of on side. Now, there's a bit of crossbreeding going along, so Bretonnians are there's a lot of elven blood, so there's a lot of half-elfish sort of stuff going on with the Bretonnians, which is why some of them live particularly long, and they're quite magically attuned and so on and so forth. And then after the War of the Beard was more or less over, the High Elf King, I've forgotten which one it was. I want to say Calador, but it wasn't. Anyway, the High Elf King ordered the Bretonnian forces, the High Elf forces, to retreat, and essentially left the tribes of the Bretonii, which were the kind of the more primitive peoples who lived here, to more or less fend for themselves. Some elves declined to follow and settled here and here. So into these two forests, the Wood Elves, as they later become settled, and didn't follow the edicts of their king, who led them to war, led them into a civil war, and also led them to a war with the dwarves. The Wood Elves were like, nah, that guy's an idiot, we're not following his orders. He's, he's already begun the decline of our race through getting into war with, basically himself and the most powerful economic faction in the world at the time, which was the dwarves. This war led to lots of dwarven keeps falling, led to the rise of orcs and goblins and Skaven and stuff that were, a petty concern before, now started to mass in abundance. Not Skaven, sorry, but orcs and goblins and, other such nasty gribblies began to mass in abundance. And so, if you've read the End Times, you know what's coming, but essentially the elves support these tribes to make them a bit better. Historically, the Bretonnians, they used to have essentially one guy from each village was the biggest and the strongest, was given the best food, lived in a watchtower, and was there to defend his village from all comers. So it's his job to go out and fight monsters, basically. And that's where this kind of culture of a feudal state came from, in that there's the protector of the village was given preferential treatment on everything, and eventually those protectors started protecting other villages and recruiting troops, and then the feudal structure was formed. So that's a very brief history of Bretonnia. So oopsie daisy, we're not there yet. So where we're up to timeline wise is during the Wars of Errantry, which were, I love Warhammer Wiki, it's brilliant, which were ran for a very long time. So we're sort of halfway, not even really halfway through the Wars of Errantry, and the Wars of Errantry were pretty much everywhere. So the current king, King Luon Orcslayer, about 75 years ago, smashed apart the Orc and Goblin tribes, so there's not a lot of them kicking around. So yeah, however, 2276, remember, so we're 21 years away from the affair of the False Grail, which is when Duke Maldred of Mousillon did all this stuff. So that's quite cool. So that's going to happen at some point. That's more or less when the Chaos Invasion happens, I think. I can't remember when the current Everchosen rises up and invades, and it's that invasion that sparks the unification of the Empire. Oh yeah, and I suppose another significant event was when Sigmar popped up. He invited the tribes of the Bretonii to join like this pan-European alliance, and the Bretonnians said, "Nah, it's all right, man. We're good. You're a bit weird." Basically, cultural differences meant that such an alliance was not possible. Essentially, nah, you're a bit weird. We'll leave you to it. So yeah, so there's a lot of elven blood in the Bretonnians, which makes them a bit more kind of, a bit more long living, a bit more intelligent, and so on and so forth. So they're not half elves, but they're like, you know, an eighth elf is like how the lineages sort of work. If you go back to that old protector sort of model, guess who ended up being the protector of the villages? The ones with the supernatural speed and skill and blah 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 blah. So essentially, in the new army book, however, they've been split into sort of three forces. So we've got a load of banished dukes and barons who have been forced out into the border princes, which is the land. So the Empire's up here, Bretonnia's over here. In the border princes, there's a lot of orcs, goblins, dwarves. There's a lot of trade that goes off around here. You've got Barakvar, some yellow-eyed goblins. So lots and lots of orcs and goblins over on the Badlands, and I'm not sure whether blue face orcs are there. I think this is an old Fantasy 8th map or whatever. But you got some spiders. So there's lot. It's at constant conflict, the border princes. So, but I suppose the point is that the main trade that these banished Bretonnians will be doing is with dwarves. So they're a bit more pragmatic, and they're not very blessed because they're doing trade with the dwarves, which ties in a little bit with the whole lady being essentially an elf, and her magical blessing doesn't transfer to those who have common dealings with the dwarves. So that all kind of ties in from a narrative perspective. So we've got the border princes. They're quite cool. They're interesting. I like them. you've got the normal Bretonnians, obviously, and then you've got this crusading force. I couldn't get any decent art of Réponse de Lyonnais. She's actually in and around the end times, but she's like a really good example of like a crusading force. And this is a really good picture that sort of depicts what it's all about. It's all about knights, and they've gone on a boat somewhere and are just charging across the world, raiding and pillaging somewhere else, because essentially what's happened, and this is why we're in the period of the errantry wars, where essentially Britannia sort of goes to war with everybody and just tries to invade everywhere all at once, is because it's not unified. It's not a unified kingdom in a traditional sense. It's quite it's a collection of baronies pretty much, and you know, they're all fighting for land, and much the same way, just a bit of a history lesson, much the same way in Europe, when essentially all the Christian nations started to fight each other, it's because there were too many children from noble houses, all of which who wanted land, which was becoming in increasingly short supply. So to solve this political problem, the Pope declared crusades to the Middle East, such that all of these troops and all this money could be directed towards fighting the true whatever enemy, which is the not Christian. So in essence, the same thing's happening here. There's not enough enemies to fight within Bretonnia, so the kings perpetuate this errantry war, so those that are a bit gung-ho can go off and die somewhere else rather than a civil war erupting. And even when, you know, the events around the False Grail happen, that still didn't really put a dent in the Bretonnians. They are a war machine. The entire country is essentially set up to be this country with a huge amount of martial prowess, and an entire culture set up to create knights that go out and fight monsters. So the errantry wars go on for quite some time, about 250 years. Anywho, we're not even halfway through the errantry wars. So Bretonnia is strong, it's well populous, it's got a really good mix of technology, and they've got half-elven steeds. They're not, sorry, nobody knows that yet because nobody's read the End Times apparently, but they're not. They've got purebred steeds which travel as fast as elf steeds. I wonder if these two are related. Anyway, that's enough of the lore and Dan's stereotypical cynicism. Let's have a look at what we do with an army list that keeps it characterful and still makes it vaguely competitive. Luckily, we've actually got some really good army lists from various tournaments, so we don't have to rely on all of this. So the bog standard pardon me, Bretonnia list, you will probably have seen before. But I'll just talk you through a few elements. So you have in Bretonnia each knight. Now in the Arcane Journal there are the two sub-factions of the Errantry War and of the Border Princes, who can have a different vow. However, every knight basically has the Knight's Vow, the Questing Vow, the Grail Vow, or they can replace these with their sub-faction vow. Your character, your Duke, gets the Grail Vow for free. A Baron can upgrade to a Questing Vow for 20 points. So it's important to note that upgrading from a Baron to a Duke, you get that 20-point upgrade anyway for the Grail Vow. So effectively it's 55 points for an extra attack, an extra wound, an extra pip of strength. Strength 5 is really good, and weapon skill 7, which is amongst the best in the game. So this stat line of the Duke is great. So of course we're going to take one. That's the wrong button. So let's do a new list. Kingdom of Bretonnia. Let's go Grand Army, 2,000 points. Bret Standard. Cool. So we want one of these. So we're going to have a Duke. We're going to have a Prophetess. We're probably going to have... I need to talk about Lady Elise Ducal. I think she's awesome. I can see why some people wouldn't like her. It depends what you want your list to do, whether she's any good or not. You should take a paladin, because you can upgrade a paladin to a battle standard bearer for free. So do that, and then you probably, some people put him on a barded Pegasus so he can go around and use that aura elsewhere. It is monstrous cavalry, but it's not a monster. The barded Pegasus, whereas the Royal Pegasus. Hold on a minute, am I getting something wrong? Because I thought the aura of the command range of I thought the command range of large target, okay, so it's large target is the keyword I'm looking for. So if either of those are a large target, then I don't think they are. I don't think either of them are. So we can't do that. No. Right, okay, good. So some people have been putting them... I was just I was just wondering whether people putting them on these flying things because it gave them an 18-inch aura for the battle standard bearer, but sadly not. So because neither of these are a large target. So you could put it on a warhorse. You're probably better off putting it on a warhorse, to be honest. Bretonnia, like a standard Bretonian list, I think works well as like a countercharge sort of list. Because, and if it were me, I'd probably take a sergeant at arms just to do a thing. Because then we want some men at arms. We don't need too many of them. Like 20 will probably do. You want a yeoman. You want full command, because you can't... essentially, if somebody captures peasants' standards, they don't care. So you don't get victory points for capturing peasant standards. You also want this blessed triptych. In fact, 30 will probably do. So that's a decent... So that's quite a cheap unit. So it's 376. Now, the reason you want the sergeant at arms, I would suggest, in addition... actually... because we're going to put the sergeant at arms, let's make that 29, so we got a nice 6x5 block. The reason you want that is because you've got peasant's duty. So this character enemy may choose to give ground rather than fall back in good order, does not have to make a panic test, blah 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 blah. Right, so you put the sergeant at arms in that unit and they effectively get unlimited stubborn. Well, it's not quite unlimited stubborn. They've still got to take a break check. But, sorry, they get unlimited shield wall. That's what I was thinking. So, essentially, as long as they pass their break check, you know, leadership 7, warband, they've probably still got a few ranks. So, they should be fine to stand, especially if you've got your general nearby and your battle standard bearer. You probably got a 9 re-rolling, you know, so they're going to stand and then they give ground, so they don't fall back in good order. So you know when these get hit, you know where they're going to be, because not only have they got that, but in their war scroll, not in their war scroll, wrong game, in their army list entry, the triptych gives them stubborn. And they've also got shield wall. So as long as they get charged, you can use the spears to make them fight in an extra rank. So it's a bit like a spear, but without the initiative bonus. the Grail Monk gives you the Triptych, which makes them stubborn, and they've got Shield Wall, which because they're using it single-handed, they can use the other hand to use their shields. So that makes this unit stubborn, Shield Wall, and in order to stop it being stubborn and not going anywhere, Shield Wall only works in the first round of combat. So, or it's not the first round. Sorry, stubborn is the first round of combat. Shield Wall, I think, is like once per game or something. It's definitely once per game. It might even be the first combat. So if you put the little Yeoman Champion in there, again, it's a relatively cheap upgrade to the unit, because it's another 45 points, which makes this, you know, it's another 45 points basically. The Grail Monk was 32, this one's 45. It just makes that unit like super reliable, and it's going to stick around. And I quite like having multiple champions in a unit. Right, now, having said all that, I'll probably go through the unit and think, actually, I want to save that 45 points elsewhere. Oh, 47, sorry, let's give him a shield. You can't give him the polearm, which is annoying, because that's the unit he's going to go in. He can't have their polearm, which is a bit dumb, but whatever. Give him a hand weapon, shield, that'll do. Make him the general. No, don't do that. Right, okay. Then you probably want some Knights of the Realm. You probably want 6 of these. You probably want 6 of these with a first knight, and that's it. Because that keeps them cheap, and it also means you're not giving away victory points when they flee or die. These mounted Knights of the Realm, they're basically there to die. They're there, which is what they want to do. They want to charge headlong into the foe, and you know, do as much damage as possible. And if they survive, they might take up the errantry vow later. But as it stands, that's where you are. You possibly want some peasant bowmen. They're okay. They're not brilliant. What they do though, and the reason you want them, is because of the defensive stakes. So if somebody charges into base contact with these, then they make a disordered charge and become disrupted. A model whose troop type is cavalry or chariot must take a dangerous terrain test. So chariots going in, roll a dice. On a 1 they take D3 wounds. Cavalry on a 1, dead. No, take a wound, sorry. So that obviously includes monstrous cavalry. So I suppose taking a unit of 20 of these, and then the defensive stakes become half a point each. That means that you can stuff these on a flank and stop your opponent from being able to easily sweep through them with their cavalry. Then we're on to special units. I'd say Pegasus Knights. You probably want these to be fully upgraded. You possibly want 2 units of them because they are pretty good. In fact, you may even want 3 units of them. How many points have we got? Right, so we need to beef up this Duke, because he's the one that's going to have to deal with dragons. So he's going to have to go on a Hippogriff. Oh, you can give it barding. That's exciting. A model that rides a barded... Yes, so it's an upgrade to him. He can have heavy armour. He can have a shield. Now, let's give him a lance because of what else we're going to do. We're going to give him a very special, very, very special duty called... oh, God, what is it? Is it that one? Yeah. Virtue of Heroism. Great. So as long as he doesn't use a magic weapon, he gets Killing Blow and Monster Slayer. Now, he's a Grail Knight already, so all of his attacks are magical, right? And stuff that applies, special rules that apply to the rider also apply to the mount. So Killing Blow and Monster Slayer now applies to the rider and the mount, and all their attacks are magical. Rules as written, I mean, I don't like how that transfers. I don't, but that's how they've written the rules. So the Griffin's got 4 attacks, weapon skill 5, strength 5, initiative 5. So it's probably striking first if it charges, which it probably is because it's got fly 9 and swift stride. It's got a large target, which means his command radius is now 18. So that means that because of his generally sort of abilities, that means he's got an 18-inch bubble of stuff that basically can take his leadership. He's not going to go in first. He's going to hold back. Nothing really is going to go in first. You're going to put these Knights of the Realm out to the flanks just to kind of force people into the men-at-arms. All right, so you want to put these like far out to the flanks with the men-at-arms in the middle, because what you want is somebody to charge your men-at-arms and not risk getting charged by your knights. Remember, your charges as a Bretonnian are super reliable because of the purebred warhorse. So firstly, you have one more move than most of the cavalry in the game. You basically, your barding doesn't matter, they're so good. You also get to re-roll 1s on charge rolls. So remember, you roll 2 dice, you take the best, you then roll another dice for swift stride, and then you can re-roll 1s. So that's 3 dice effectively you're rolling. Obviously, your maximum charge range is 9 inches, so that's the maximum plus your move that you can move. The charge range and the charge roll. The charge range is the result of the charge roll, but it isn't the charge roll. The charge roll is the mechanic for working out the charge range. So the maximum charge range is 9. Your cavalry already have movement 8, so they're not down to 7 like a lot of other cavalry with barding. In old editions of Warhammer, it used to be -1 move for wearing barding, but Bretonnians had a special rule that ignored it. As did, I think, High Elves. It was called Ithelmar barding, which does something different. But anyway, they still ignore barding because they've got the extra move. It's just already there. And then, so your maximum charge most of the time is going to be 17 inches. So that's a pretty decent maximum charge. So where are we up to? So we've got loads of points left. And we've only taken a virtue, so we can still stack some magic items on this guy. You probably want to do this. So you can't have a magic weapon, so that's gone. The first thing I'd do is have a look here and see if anything's useful. Now, re-rolling 1s with armor saves is really good. So that puts him up to a 2-up save. Remember, you've got your ward save from the Blessing of the Lady anyway. Looking at the Banner of Chalon is really good, so we want to probably put that on a unit of Pegasus Knights. So these can do a long-bomb charge into a missile, something with missile weapons, because Chalon stops them from being able to stand and shoot. So these can do a long bomb charge. Remember, they're skirmishers, so they basically got 360 vision. I think they are monstrous cavalry, but I couldn't. I mean, comment down below if I've got that wrong. I'm still unsure on that one. And like I said in other videos, I'm very happy when people point out my mistakes because I want to get it right in future. Obviously, we can take illusion. Is illusion the one with Plague of Rust? I think we probably want Plague of Rust. Yeah, it's not that one. It's not that one. Is it Elementalism that's got Plague of Rust? Yeah, we definitely want Plague of Rust. That Plague of Rust is an amazing spell. And in order to ensure that we get that, we want the Potion of Arcane 30-point Lore Familiar. There it is. Which is not extremely common. Yeah, didn't think it was. I'm sure I've seen a list somewhere where somebody's taken it twice. Why do we want Plague of Rust? It's quite simple. It's a hex, so that means it's cast in your strategy phase. So before... Oh, that's annoying. Why didn't it let me go back? So it's a hex, so it's cast in the strategy phase. It's not remains in place, so it's until your next start of turn sub phase, so it's over your turn and theirs, and they can do nothing about it. It's a 21-inch range, so unless they've got their wizard out front and centre, you can probably cast it, without them having an unbind attempt. It's cast on a 9, so with your level 4, you only need to roll 5 on 2 dice, so it's pretty... And it's basically -2 modified to an armour value. So if your opponent has left their cavalry in a kind of an awkward position, such that you can charge them with your rubbishy knights, how do you fancy AP 4/5 lances? I fancy that as being very effective. So Plague of Rust is amazing. We want her to be on a... Ideally, I really like unicorns because, they got a decent move. The problem is they're not easy to fit into a unit of knights because they're not the same base size, because knights have got a 30/60 base. So these aren't particularly good at fitting in a unit of knights, which is a bit annoying. They are pretty cool though, but it's probably not useful. We want a Bretonnian warhorse, really, don't we? And then she can go in a unit of knights somewhere. I think that's probably where I'd leave her, because I'm not sure that I mean, my particular style of list building, I don't particularly like having too much points in characters. I just want the characters to have like the minimum spent on them to make them do the job I want them to do. And her job is basically getting Plague of Rust off to weaken stuff. Is there anything else we can do? We could do the Sacrament of the Lady. Increase the spell range by 3. Dispelling hexes, you get +1 to dispel. Silver Mirror is pretty useless. If it wasn't single use, then that would be pretty good. But even if it wasn't single use, I don't know. Oh no, it's roll an extra d6. Yeah, okay. So it's a Dispel Scroll that does a hit, but I'd rather just take the Dispel Scroll because yours. What else do I want? Falkenhorn of Fredemund. That's amazing. Basically, it stops your opponent flying. So give that to the Duke because he's going to stick around pretty much all game, I'd imagine. Let's give him the Falkenhorn of Fredemund. And so we did have a look at the magic armor, didn't we? The Gromril Great Helm is pretty useful. There is this anointed armor, which is from the other book that they've done. He's on a monster now, so being immune to Killing Blow is useless. And the reason he's on a monster again, because Killing Blow and Monster Slayer. So basically, just to remind you, Killing Blow and Monster Slayer, if you roll a 6 to wound, so because he's got both, right, if you roll a 6 to wound, as long as he's not facing a chariot, then if you roll 6 to wound, no armor save, no regen save, just dead. Gets a ward save, but just dead. So he's a killing machine. He's a proper monster hunter because he's got quite a lot of attacks already. The problem is there's not stuff that gives him more. Now, all I wanted to check, that's useless. That's quite good, but that's not what we want. Ooh. Paymaster's Coin is actually really, really useful. Although I'd want him to stick around, and it's the Bedazzling Helm, because it gets you up to a 2-up save and also -1 to hit in combat is really good. So we're probably going to go with that. So we've really maxed out what we get, but he's still not even 500 points. That's still quite cheap. And we've spent 810 points on characters. So I'm pretty happy with that. We've still got like 220 points spare. Can I take some? Oh, I can take some Grail Knights, yeah. Grail Knights are pretty good. And let's do full command on them. And that's where we're going to stick the Prophetess, isn't it? And possibly the Paladin. So, yeah, that looks pretty good. So essentially you've got 2 units of Knights of the Realm to go on one flank. You've got the Men-at-Arms to act as a brick in the middle. And you've got the Bowmen to block the other flank. So a nice 10x2 line. You've got 2 units of Pegasus Knights to go on each individual flank behind the lines. And then you've got the Grail Knights to probably sit somewhere in between the block of Men-at-Arms and the archers, just so they've got a nice. And remember, with the lance formation, that line of sight is from these 2 models here. It's not from the front. We draw a line of sight from these arcs. So basically ignore the model at the front for manoeuvring and line of sight. So if you're wheeling from this line here, if you see that. So if you draw a line here, it's that line that you're wheeling through, but only this little bit here. So oh yeah, and use the lance formation if you can. The reason why is basically its frontage is like this. Now, some people think that it's only, in terms of fighting back, it's only models that are in base contact with this model at the front. Because here it says every model on the outside of a lance is considered to be within its fighting rank and in base contact with the enemy's fighting rank. It doesn't say that essentially you draw like an imaginary box like this, and that's if your opponent is who your opponent's in base contact with here, it like from here to here is in combat. And again, rules as written, that is kind of what it says. So if you get hit by a lance, right, you can only fight back against 1 unit. So if you're like the Bretonnian player, you can sort of pick who you fight. Remember, you've got a 30-inch base, and you've got to maximize the amount of models that you're up against. So you can't really, you're still going to have to like do this sort of thing. Oh, this is terrible. This is a terrible way of annotating it. Adobe, this is awful. Can I make it thinner? No. Bloody thing. No. No. Bloody Adobe. Right, anyway. Oh. And now it's just for God's sakes. Oh dear. Oh, no. Oh, line thickness. There we go. We can make it thinner. Right, well that's good for future reference, isn't it? How the hell do I select all that? What about control all? Delete? No, that doesn't help. Or no. Oh, do you have to right click on everything? Oh my god. There we go. Undo. That'll do. Right, anyway. What was I talking about? Yes, so the lance, you can only really fight back, so it's an amazing thing. And also, basically, your frontage, if you look here, essentially this, you've got 4 models in you're 4 models wide, basically, in terms of this column. However, this isn't 4 models. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you get 3 models for free. So lance formation is great. So if you're in two minds, use it. Anyway, I think we're more or less there. I'd if I spent a bit more time on it, I'd be tweaking this a bit because I'm not massively happy with all of it. This feels like there's something missing. Don't quite know what it is. Do I put him on a Pegasus? That costs another 14 points. I'd probably look at a way to maybe put him on a Barded Pegasus so he could go in with one of these units of Pegasus Knights and then flap around a bit. Yeah, but I quite like that. Don't take the Trebuchet's rubbish. Cool. So that's the Bretonnian list. Let's go for which, you know, I'm not going to do. I might do this one. So it's like 100 Years War type thing, the Exiles. So very kind of 100 years. It's not year is it? It's the 100 Years War sort of list. So this is the Border Princes. In order to work out what's in the list, right? Oh God, did I? I bet I didn't, did I? I bet I didn't actually put edit. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, hold on. Did I? Special? Yeah, I did, because these are different. So they're allowed more rare units, which is great. So I'm actually going to start with the rare units because there's something I want in this, and that's a bombard. You're allowed 2, so I'm going to take 2. You basically get a cannon, which you've bought from the dwarves, which would explain why they're not allowed the blessing. So remember, they don't get the blessing at the start. They can earn it as they go along, but they don't get the blessing to begin with. They do still get the free battle standard bearers, so we're going to do that. So you're allowed a bombard per 1,000 points. So we've gone for 2,000 points. So we're going to go for 2 of them. Again, this is an argument as to why this 1999 plus 1 comp is a bit dumb, because why would you want to limit them to only 1 bombard? Like, you know, if they've got 2 bombards and 2 trebuchets, that's pretty cool, but trebuchets are a bit rubbish. Because they can't move, and it's just all down to luck, really. And, you know, luck and competitiveness are 2 different things. You want reliable things if you want to be competitive. Or if you want to give yourself the best chance of winning, you need something that does a job and you know that it's going to do the job. Whereas trebuchets, you don't know it's going to do the job. In fact, it may well not. Cannons, though, are brilliant. Like the mechanics of how they fire, they're pretty reliable. Anywho, you're allowed to spend up to 1/3 on Squires and Pegasus Knights. Again, I'm just going to go there again. And I'm going to protect my flanks, or at least make it quite difficult to get through the flanks. I'm going to take 2 units of Pegasus Knights to do that. So I've got a lot of stuff available. However, there's no Grail Knights. Questing Knights become rare. And you've got these Border Prince Brigands, which I think are pretty good. But I'll let you be the judge of that. So they got their own cool stuff. They've also got Outcast Wizards. So they're allowed 1 damsel and out. So they don't have a level 4 wizard. However, they may still have her. Oh no, they may not, because she's a prophetess and they're not allowed to prophetess. Okay, cool. So, sorry, I just thought about that as I was saying it. And then I thought, ooh, what about... No. Wrong. Shut up, Dan. Oh my God. What? Oh, this is the narrative bit, isn't it? Outcast nobility. Here we go. That guy's got his shield on upside down. He's inverted his family crest, so he's obviously ashamed of them for some reason. Right. So, in this you've got to have a unit of Yeoman Guard, and you've got to have a unit of Knights of the Realm. This is the one exception to what I was saying earlier. You might actually want them on foot, because the Knights of the Realm on foot do a different job. Actually, I mean, this is why I haven't gone for this, because I'm finding it really difficult to actually write a list. But anyway, who's going to be the general? What about, because Cecil Gaston, no one fights like Gaston, is a baron. Any that includes this option is a baron, so he can't be used. Oh, I always thought he was a character for. I always thought. Sorry, I got that wrong as well. I always thought he was a character for Border Princes. Huh. But they can't have him because he's not. They're not that. Oh no, he's a baron. Yeah, sorry, he is a baron. God, sorry, I'm being really thick. It's quite late, and I've had a quite a long day. Actually, the other thing is I've just read this book that's horrendous. It's kind of tormented me a little bit. You know, you read a book and it's really, really good, but it's so graphic and horrible, and you just sort of end up thinking, oh. Anyway, yes, so it's just a fiction book. It's not a Warhammer thing. Anyway, so we're allowed him. He's the guy for them. He's pretty good. He has got a sort of a Baron stats, but slightly better. So if we go back, we'll just compare. So he's got 3 wounds, 4 attacks. Did he have 4 attacks? He's got 4 attacks, leadership 9. All that's the same. He's got slightly better weapon skill. He's also got this Dragonhide cloak, so he ignores 2 AP. So yeah, he's got a 4-up save. But he also ignores 2 AP. He also ignores Killing Blow and multiple wounds, so he's pretty good in a challenge, to be honest. And he's got a 3-up ward save against flaming attacks, so he's pretty good in a challenge. He's also, if he kills monstrous anything, pretty much. Yeah, if he kills pretty much any monstrous thingy, then he becomes terrifying, which is pretty good. And he's also got this Sorrow's End, which is Monster Slayer, multiple wounds 2. So it's multiple wounds 2 against everything else. Well, I suppose, and monsters, but he's got a Monster Slayer, so if he rolls a 6 to wound, he spikes a 6. Strength 5 AP 1. It's pretty good. I quite like him. The question really is, what's the points difference? So you pay an extra 65 points for him. He's got the Exile's Vow. So I suppose the question is, oh, I should have done that first, shouldn't I? Had a look at that. So Bretonnian Exiles have not only a different army composition and some cool new units, they also have the Exile's Vow, so they can replace the. So let's just add a Baron, so he can replace. Oh, it doesn't allow you to. Okay, so they've not updated it to do that yet. But you can basically replace these vows with the Exile's Vow, which is Stubborn and Veteran. So Veteran is reroll failed psychology tests. Stubborn, you know. There's one reason I think you might not want him though, and that's because of that the Falcon Horn of Fredemund. Because if he's got Veteran, it's a leadership test. Do you get to re-roll leadership tests with Veteran? Sorry, I think it's just psychology tests, but and break tests are not psychology tests. Re-roll any. Ooh, it's just failed leadership tests. So you could use Veteran to. Oh, damn it. No, I'm not going to take him. I'm going to take a Baron. He's going to have the vow of, you know, whatever. and he's also going to have the Falkenhorn of Fredemund, and that's going to turn off opponents' flyers, like pretty much guaranteed, because 9 leadership, like rolling a 10 or more on 2d6 is sort of the equivalent of rolling a 6. So essentially 2 up re-rolling, more or less, to get this to go up. So it's pretty, you know, you're very unlucky if it doesn't go off. So we want the Falkenhorn of Fredemund. It's only 40 points, pretty good. Why has he lost a load of options now? Is he only allowed? Oh, he's only allowed 75 points of magic items. Oh, we're going to have to be a bit selective with him. I think it says Lady Elise Ducar here, but you can't, because you can't have a prophetess. I think in this one, does he really want to be on foot? What can we mount him on? So we can put him on a hippogriff. Okay, that's good. Can we still give him the virtue of heroism? Yeah, we can. We can still give him a lance and a shield. And we can still give him barding. So that's all pretty good. And then what else can we afford magic item wise? Can we still afford the helmet of reroll ones to save? No, because we've only got 35 points spare. You can have a frontier axe. What's that? No, he can't have a frontier axe because we're giving him Monster Slayer and thingy with the other thing. So we could give him an Iron Spike shield. What's that do? It's okay. It's not great. No, it's not great. Which was it? This one? No. Was it this one? No. Well, that one would be useful if you're going up against somebody with cannons. However, you've got them. But, you know, other people are allowed cannons. It's not only Bretonnians in Border Princes. Was it Armour of Meteoric Iron? That is so good for, like, Demon Princes, because it's basically another 5 at ward. Brilliant. So you get a 5 at ward, then a 4 at ward, and then you can give him 5 at regen, which is just amazing. Yeah, I think I'll probably leave it there, to be honest. It's not that. Oh, no, don't do that. Shield of the Warrior True. 5 at ward against... Oh, idiot. Yeah, we'll just give him Talisman of Protection. Because he doesn't come with less blessing as standard, so just give him a 5 at ward in addition to his like 3 up save. Makes him slightly more survivable. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I think I don't know what else I want to take though. We've got to have Yeoman Guard, however you pronounce that. Yeoman, probably. It's just how it should be. But that sounds a bit, yeah. These are great. These have got stubborn shield wall, same as the normal, except they've now got weapon skill 3, which is great. I think their leadership's 1 better, so they're more likely to stick around. Again, I do what I do. I do what I've done in the other list. Take a Sergeant at Arms because it's a pretty cheap upgrade to make it a bit more likely that they're going to stick around. That dude's got to be the General. His leadership 9. And putting him again on the Hippogriff makes his command radius 18 inches. So for the purposes of Inspiring Presence, which is basically a unit within that radius can use his leadership. You know, he's now gone from a 24-inch bubble to a 36-inch bubble. So that's worthwhile doing. Yes, we've got to take Yeoman Guard and... what was the other one we have to take? I can't remember now. Is it just Knights of the Realm? Oh yes, Knights of the Realm on foot or mounted Knights of the Realm. Yeah, well, I've put the Baron. So let's do some cav. Again, I think we want like a decent amount of them. Full command and the triptych. Now, these are a bit more expensive, but I think they're worth it. And, oh my god, the pole arms cost an extra point. You can give them halberts, apparently, or you can give them thrusting spears. I'll probably give them thrusting spears, because you're not really ever likely to be in a position where you're going to use the So pole arms can either be used as thrusting spears or halberds, but they don't get the extra initiative like thrusting spears do. But actually, because of so they got initiative 3, so they're initiative 4 when they get charged. So something that's initiative 1 and charging, they get to strike simultaneously. So if they're being charged by something on foot with great weapons, they get to strike simultaneously, right? So they're not. It's not a terrible idea to give them the extra 1 initiative. Just, I know that's slightly situational, but it's more likely to happen than them be in a position where they're going to want to drop shield wall, and also, you know, strength 4, AP 1 is very good, but like you lose a load of attacks and you're fighting, I don't know, 50-50. It saves a point really, and you don't want to spend too many points on them. So, because we're already up to like 250 points, which is quite a lot for a load of peasants. I'm having second thoughts actually now about that. Let's have some more knights. Oh, 3 points missing. How very annoying. Oh, was I missing points on the other list? I was, wasn't I? I didn't notice that, did I? Let's do a musician, because I don't want a standard, because it's just going to die. Right, so we've got about 500 points spare. So I think let's take a damsel, put her on a horse, make her level 2, give her elementalism, go for the thingy of thingy. Where's the thingy of thingy? Come on, thingy of thingy. 30 point law familiar, that's it. And then let's do, how many points left? Let's do the green knight, because I think he'll be annoying. And let's do an outcast wizard. Outcast wizard could be level 3. Oh, that's cool. On a hoss. And an outcast wizard can also have elementalism. Okay, damsel, you're demoted to gone. And let's give him the thingy of thingy, or the law familiar. There we go. That's good, isn't it? Do they have any cool... I'm not sure. I don't think they do. There are some like magic items that this faction and only this faction can take. There is... Yes, we do want this. Banner of the Zealous Knight. So, Banner of the Zealous Knight can only take a model in Bretonnian Exiles. Unit carrying the Banner of the Zealous Knight gains the Vanguard special rule, which means you get to move after deployment, which is really good. So, we definitely want to be building that in somewhere to a unit that we want to move. It's going to be... Oh, we need to upgrade these so they've got a thing, haven't we? So we've got the Zealous Knight there. And then we've got the... Oh no, that's Knights of the Realm. They don't want that. That one. Give them full command. Oh, we're fast running out of points, aren't we? And we want the... Was it Chalon? Yes. Banner of Chalon there. Oh no, we forgot about Battle Standard Bearer. Oh, I'm going to say goodbye to the Green Knight, aren't I? Oh, that's so annoying. Unless I get rid of the Sergeant at Arms. Because I want a Battle Standard Bearer. I know it's free, but I'm still over. I'm gonna have to get rid of the Sergeant at Arms. Let's get rid of him. Let's pop them up to 30, so they're nice and squared on the tabletop. Let's give this dude... yeah, let's put him on a warhorse. And Questing Vow. Don't care about that. Stubborn. Don't care about that. Don't care about that. Don't care about that. No. So let's not do that. Okay. Probably give him a morning. Oh no. Where's he actually going to go though? Because there's no real unit. Because the Baron's on a Hippogriff. The Outcast Wizard is just going to pootle around. And now, do they have any? Oh yeah, I forgot about the other guy. The other unit that they've got. I think they're pretty cool. It's the Brigands. I think they're pretty good because they've got, or you can give them ambushers, which means they can kind of pop in later, and they're allowed blunderbusses, which is cool. I know it's 4 points per model, but the 12-inch range, strength 3, multiple shots D3, volley fire. So, you know, they're quite good. They don't get negative modifiers for firing at long range or whilst making a stand and shoot charge reaction. So I quite like ambushers, and they skirmish as well. So I quite like them. Just to kind of come on the battlefield at the back and just be a pain in the arse. Because they have like a hand weapon, light armor, shield, just little, you know, little unit just to be a Desperado can take up to 50 points of magic item. Oh, is there any way to abuse that? There probably is, but I can't be bothered to work it out. Oh, we're already out of points. So I'm going to leave that list there because we're just about over the hour, and I want to do the list that I actually want to buy. But I think we're getting close to a decent list here. I hope this has given you some ideas. Yeah, I do like the cannons. The cannons are good. So what are you going to do? So the cannons are going to go on the flanks. So the Yeoman Guard is going to sit in the middle. You got 2 Knights of the Realm to flank them. You got 2 Pegasus Knights to go on further flanking duties. You've got these 3 that kind of bundle up in the middle behind the Yeoman Guard until you're allowed to get out and do stuff with them and countercharge. They've got Stubborn and Shield Wall anyway, so we're good. You got the Green Knight that can kind of come on later, but only through natural terrain, which is where I think dropping this guy and bringing on a load of ambushers, like a few units of those ambushers, like MSU style maybe, or like units of 10 or whatever, that might provide more utility, because then you can get on, if you're up against an opponent with a lot of artillery, then that would be useful. Whereas I think, well, I don't know, the Green Knight's a bit better in combat, quite a lot better in combat actually. So anyway, so I think that's a good list. I think that's okay, but needs a bit of tweaking. But I think you can see where I'm going every time. Combat guy ends up with Falconhorn and Fredemund, because like imagine if your opponent's got some like beastie that's got like you know, fly 12 but a movement on the ground of 4, like you've just hampered it. And you know, but actually with this unit it's really useful because he can have veteran, because that's the Exile's Vow, which means he gets to reroll leadership tests, so that's really super good. And you can still give him the virtue of heroism, which I think is possibly the best virtue that Bretonnians have got. Right, anyway, let's take a list where we don't take the we're going to do it. Sorry, but it is so good. Right, so then we're going to go Kingdom of Bretonnia. We are going to go for an Errantry Crusade. Jeune de ne Lark. Let's not do that. Oh well. That's a bit of a mouth. De ne Lark. Idiot. Right, anyway. Did I select the right? Yeah, I did. So this is different in that you've got to take more of your core, but you can take more rare and take all the special. So you've really got a bit more choice. They don't have a special unit. We do want her, because we just want somebody who's going to be defensive magically. We do want one of them. which is going to look like this. You've seen it before. I'm not going to explain it again. That I'm not sure about the Falkenhorn actually at this stage, because I'm not sure I'm that bothered about other people flying around and turning that off, because I want to get to them, and if they come to me, I'm going to think about that actually. I'm going to think about that. I'm not maybe not that bothered about the bedazzling helm either. Decisions. Right, so we're running out of road in terms of heroes soon, so let's do the Battle Standard Bearer because we need one of them. And okay, so what cool stuff does this give you? Good guys. It's not that, it's Kingdom of Bretonnia. So we've got Bold Crusaders. Here they are, the Errantry Crusades. We've got to take 2 units of Knights Errant, which is a bit of a problem, but we can take Battle Pilgrims as a core choice. So I think those 3 are going to take up more or less everything, and then that means we've got we can take a lot of Ground Knights. Don't want Trebuchets, useless. We can take Inner Circle Knights in addition if we want to. I mean, that's quite cool because you could do it thematically, a bit like if you were doing like you know, if you've got in your head you want like a crusading force, as in like a real world crusading force. Obviously, Teutonic Knights would join in with the French and British, you know, knights on crusades, so you'd have like a real mixed force. So you could do that, which would be quite cool. But you know, again, like I said, I'm just gonna lock in those Pegasus Knights because I think they're just so good. And we definitely want the Banner of Chalon because this is going to be one that's going to get in quite quickly. And I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to get rid of the Banner of Chalon because you've got 2 of them, obviously, which is a pity. If you could have more than one, I think everybody would put that on pretty much every unit. But yeah, one of them's useful enough. Because it makes, you know, you've basically got 400 points, give or take, of artillery hunters. They can, you know, an artillery, spelt with an IE at the end and not a Y, meant any kind of missile weapon, and guns meant cannon. So way back when, a gun was a cannon and an artillery was a crossbow or a bow. So they're artillery hunters of all descriptions of artillery, for all variations of artillery, apart from maybe dwarves with crossbows and great axes and full plate and all the nonsense that dwarves come with. I mean, all of this really wants to be mounted, apart from one unit, which is probably Battle Pilgrims, and you probably want like a block of 30 of them, and you definitely want a Reliquary. Yeah, we've not got a lot of points left. In fact, oh my god, you run out of points so quickly in this edition because you're spending so much on characters. To be honest, I wish they'd limit the amount of points you could spend on heroes, because that would make constructing a list like way easier. Like if they made it, I don't know, up to a third on characters would be good. I know I'd be over, but you know, I'd probably take the Duke off at the Hippogriff and put it on something else, or take a few artifacts off it or whatever. Anyway, we've got to have 2 units of Knight Errant, and obviously you want 6 in a unit. Yep, like that. Oh no, we've got to have another unit. Do we have to have Knights Errant? I mean, Knights Errant are alright, but we can have some mounted Knights of the Realm. Okay, let's do that. And then where are we up to? So one. Oh. Can we take? We can take 3 Grail Knights. All right, I'll do that. Again, I'll probably tweak this so we could have 2 units of 3 Grail Knights. I really like a little block of 3 Grail Knights as a concept, because one thing it does is it makes the Battle Pilgrims, because they have Grail Reliquary, which is the last thing to die. It counts as standard bearer and musician, and whilst it's within 12 inches of a model that has the Grail Veil, this unit is immune to psychology and unbreakable. Remember, that doesn't mean it's unstable, that means you have to kill all 30 of them. It's not tremendously difficult because they've only got light armor and shields and they don't get the blessing, but, or do they get the blessing actually? That's a really good question. I just said that out loud and I thought, well actually, they probably should, shouldn't they? They're carrying a massive Grail around. They do have Blessings of the Lady. Oh, the Grail Reliquary has Blessings of the Lady. Ooh. Does that mean the unit gets Blessings of the Lady, or just the Grail Reliquary itself? I don't know. That's an interesting question that well, we shall probably not be able to answer before an FAQ. Because some effects transfer from characters to units, don't they? And some effects transfer from units to characters, unless it clearly says. It seems to me that the rule is that it transfers unless it clearly says it doesn't. I mean, to me, it should clearly say that it does, in order for, you know, I'd rather something is a positive rather than, well, there's no negatives, so that's an illogical basis upon which to proceed to write a rule book. But anyway, that's my rule style. So the reason Knights Errant are a bit of a pain is that they've got Impetuous, and you know, Knights of the Realm have a better weapon skill, for instance. Everything else is more or less the same. They're a lot cheaper, same armor, same pretty much everything, apart from the fact that they don't have countercharge either. So Mounted Knights of the Realm have countercharge, which is an amazing ability. Very few things actually have countercharge. It's like a proper elite cavalry sort of ability. So that's Bretonnia's like cool thing, in that more or less their Boggo standard knights have this, you know, fantastic ability. So yeah, so that's getting close to the list I'd want to take, but we're not quite there yet. We're not quite there yet. I think I might have spent too much on the Duke, but you know, whatever. So yeah, that's my 3 lists. So I've taken you through a few lists. We've done a bit of lore. I hope that's been helpful. If you've got any feedback or tips, because, you know, I am going to be buying this at some point when I get around to finishing off my Khemri, which is taking way too long because I've had a really busy weekend driving kids around to various things. But anyway, when I get back to actually doing some hobby, hopefully this week, although I've got a really busy week this week as well, so goodness knows where I'm going to fit it in. But anyway, I do actually finally have some wire to pin my models with, and I've got some little multi-tool drill bits that will actually fit my multi-tool and allow me to pin stuff properly. So I was excited to use those this evening, but time again ran away from me. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about that. That's another bit. That's for shed talk. That's not for this. Anyway, so I hope this video has been useful. If you're still watching, I hope I've done enough to earn a depression on your subscribe button. And if you've liked the video, there's a button for that. Yeah, hope to catch you around soon. I'll be doing a meta show tomorrow. There's not a lot, to be honest, so I'm probably just going to go through a few tournaments that, you know, we've we've seen over the weekend. There's been a lot of tournaments, however, a lot of them have been like 1,500 point and below, which, you know, is interesting, but I don't think 1,500 points is enough to be considered competitive. I think the minimum would go down to is 1,750, and to be honest, I think the maximum would go up to is about 2.5, maybe 2,750. I think 3,000 is a bit too much. If there ever are any tournaments at 3,000 points, which there probably will be at some point, but I think that's a bit large and a bit beyond the scope of like normal. But, you know, again, we shall see. Anyway, it's been lovely chatting to myself for a while, and I shall see you soon. Toodaloo.